There's been a lot of talk about whether or not Jeremy Lin is going to start this season, and as usual, there's lots of emotion on both extremes, as well as a lot of speculation as to what the implications are. I just want to touch on some of these issues and share my thoughts. Since I was the one who made the Mikhail is just a Jeremy Lin doubter video, I feel I have some obligation to address whether or not this move to possibly bring Jeremy Lin off the bench has to do with that. Well, Mikhail has said in the past, in particular when addressing questions about whether or not he would play Ashik and Howard together, that you want your starters to be your best 5 players on the team. So him even considering not starting Lin does imply that he doesn't consider Lin to clearly be one of the best 5 players on the team. But let's set all of this aside for now. To me, there's only 2 major considerations for using Lin as a 6th man. The first is Beverly's deficiencies at running the offense, and the second is the lack of scoring threat with Rocket's second unit. So let's deal with those for now. Let's first talk about Beverly's ability to run the offense. So before we get into that, I want to stress that I'm a fan of Beverly. Last season, I was the one who kept screaming on my blog for Mikhail to play Beverly over Douglas. And when I saw Beverly for the first time, I didn't hesitate to say that he's an elite on-ball defender after watching him in his first game. I think it was against the Clippers. So I'm a big fan of Beverly and a big supporter of Beverly. Last season, I saw Beverly as a better Tony Douglas. In other words, he's a defensive spark off the bench. I never saw Douglas as a point guard. I just saw him as an undersized shooting guard, and that's the way I see Beverly. But one of the things I really like about Beverly is that he's a really, really hard worker. I know he did a lot of work on his game over the summer, and I think a big part of it is that he worked on his playmaking skills. And actually, in the Taiwan exhibition game against the Pacers, that was really the best I'd seen Beverly in terms of his playmaking skills or his distribution skills. So after I saw that game, I feel much better about Beverly's ability to run the offense for the second unit. And the other great thing that we saw in Taiwan is Garcia coming back, and he still looks just as good as he looked last season. And then Caspi is really showing that what he's done so far in the preseason may be for real. So if Caspi continues to do what he does and Garcia stays the way he is, then I feel much better about the second unit's ability to score. I'm not as worried about them offensively as I was, I guess, before I saw the game in Taiwan. Obviously before then, Garcia wasn't back. They still don't have Ashik back, and so there's still a lot of things that I guess we need to see. But I think the game in Taiwan, obviously it's a very small sample, but I think that built a case for not needing Lin as much for running the second unit, for running the offense for the second unit. The game in Manila sort of built a case for those who were in the camp of bringing Lin off the bench, and I think the game in Taiwan countered that. So we're sort of at square zero again. Although I think, obviously I'm leaning more heavily towards Lin being a starter. But all this is to say that at first I was somewhat okay with the idea of Lin being a 6th man, or at least I understood it and I could accept it. But now, after seeing the game in Taiwan, it seems like maybe Beverly can handle things with the second unit, and maybe the second unit does have enough firepower, so Lin isn't needed as much as I maybe thought he was before. The one argument I don't buy is that we need Beverly's defense to start games. The reason I don't buy this argument is that it's not like Lin is a poor defender. Lin is actually a very, very good defender. I won't get into the reasons why people perceive him as a bad defender. Maybe I'll do that in another video, but a lot of people don't know this, and I actually didn't know this until I heard one of Paul's videos from Conservative New Media, but he mentioned that Lin was actually considered a defensive specialist when he was with Golden State. So, and hearing that actually did not surprise me whatsoever, because I've always seen that Lin was a very good overall defender. I don't have time in this video to get into a discussion of Lin's defense. If you want to find out more, I created a video called Jeremy Lin is a highly underrated defender, so you can check that out on my channel, and I'll see if I can include it in the description below as well. Put it this way, the only reason to use Lin as a sixth man is because of Beverly's deficiencies, not because of Beverly's strengths. I just want to make that crystal clear. So anyone who thinks otherwise is just a Lin hater. I'm generally very open-minded, and I try to see things from a lot of different angles, but I don't buy that argument that you need Beverly's defense to start games, and that's why you would bench Lin. I think that's 100% Lin hater talk. I'm sorry, but there's really just no other way to see that. So those are, those two arguments are the major considerations for using Lin as a sixth man. A secondary consideration for using Lin as a sixth man is to stagger Harden and Lin's minutes. But the reason why I don't think that is such a major consideration is you can do that while still starting Lin. And then secondly, now that they have Howard, it makes a lot of sense for Lin and Howard to play together, because they're both very good pick and roll players. That sort of balances the need to stagger Harden's and Lin's minutes, is that Howard also needs Lin, and Lin needs Howard, vice versa. So I think it all comes out as a wash. So this all brings me to the ideal solution, which is to start Lin, play him for 4 minutes or less in the first quarter, and then bring him in with the second unit in the first half. And then in the second half, it depends on the nature of any given game, what you do. You can either do the same thing you did in the first half, or you just do something completely differently. It just all depends on how the first half went, and the opponent and things like that. So I think by doing this, you get sort of the best of both worlds. You get to stagger Lin and Harden's minutes, which is still a very important thing to do, and then you use Lin somewhat with both units. And the thing about Lin is that he makes any four guys play better. I mean, that's to me, that's what Lin's sanity was all about in New York, is that he made a bunch of scrubs play like stars. For example, before Lin's sanity, no one knew about Steve Novak, and that's a lot of what people miss with Lin's sanity, is that it wasn't about Lin's stats per se. It was about how the team as a whole played together, how they were all unselfish and they were all sharing the ball and things like that. And when you share the ball, the whole team becomes better. So I think that's what's great about Lin, is that he can play with both the first unit and the second unit and make both units look better. So with this solution, I think Lin should be the primary floor general when he's on the court, whether it's with Harden or with Beverly. And these guys, Harden and Beverly, can be the floor general when Lin is not on the floor. This way the Rockets can maximize the time that Howard and Lin have together, and can, just really involve Howard when Lin is on the court, and then when Lin is off the court, then Harden can sort of take over. So this sort of balances the two superstars on the team, which, is also another important consideration. I think this is the best solution, at least for now, because it allows the coaching staff to see which unit needs Lin more and figure out if it's really that necessary to use Lin as a sixth man. So to me, I think that solution really solves a lot of issues for the Rockets. But leaving all of this aside and getting back to the whole, whether or not this has anything to do with the video I made about Mikal being a Lin doubter, I want to just get back to that. Regardless of whether or not Lin starts, Lin needs to finish nearly all, if not all, of the games this season and play 30 plus minutes a game, similar to what Harden did with OKC. If he doesn't do this, then it really doesn't matter the reasons that Mikal gives to the press for using Lin as a sixth man. If Lin doesn't finish nearly all, if not all of the games, then this has everything to do with the whole McPhail-Lin dynamics that I talked about at length in my 40 plus minute long video. And yes, it does take that long to treat this complex matter in a fair manner for Mikal. And, I just want to make a brief note on the term McPhail-Lin. I know a lot of people take that as being derogatory, and it's completely understandable because, obviously the word McPhail is derogatory towards Mikal, but the way I use it is actually a technical term to refer to something that takes 40 minutes to talk about. So when I say McPhail-Lin dynamics, I'm referring to all the things that I discussed in that 40-minute long video. It's, there's no other way to sort of talk about this issue in a quick soundbite. So I just say McPhail-Lin dynamics, and, I hope in the future people know that that's what I'm talking about, is all the things I raised in a 40-minute long video. So it's nothing, I don't mean it, I understand how people can view it as derogatory towards Mikal, but I don't mean it in that way. For example, I never refer to Kevin as McPhail when I'm talking about Kevin the person, or Kevin, just when I'm just referring to Kevin the person. The only time I use the word McPhail is when I'm making reference to all the issues I raised in that 40-minute plus video. So anyway, I just want to sort of address that, because I know, that's something other people have raised to me, and, totally understandable. So getting back to the subject of this video, the litmus test to me for how legitimate this decision to use Lin as a sixth man is depends on whether or not Lin will finish nearly all, if not all, of the games this season. If not, then there's no other way to look at this but to see it as a deliberate attempt to demote Lin. And avid Lin fans have every right to be angry, because Lin has shown that he doesn't deserve this level of disrespect. It's nothing against Beverly, but Beverly right now is a very good defensive spark off the bench. He's not a starting point guard for a team that can potentially, make a lot of noise. So that's basically the way I see it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, thumbs up, thumbs down, and feel free to share the videos, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye.